I'm here with Chef AJ, and we're going to be talking about from her book Unprocessed. In one of her in chapters, she's got a whole thing on the Yabbuts, which I just love because,
Thank you.
yeah, they're amazing because they're excuses. And
Hmm. Yeah.
today's excuse we're going to talk about, I don't have time to prepare this healthy food. So,
Right.
if you're eating the right food, or I call it the fuel,
Hmm.
food that your body was designed to eat, you're going to have more energy.
Absolutely. And when you have more energy, you need less sleep. And when you need less sleep, you have more time to do your shopping and your prepping of the healthy food. Because, we all have the same 168 hours a week. I can almost understand when people use money as an excuse because it's true. It's not fair. Some people have a lot more money
Right.
than others, but time, we all have the exact same amount, and it's how you use it. And I do think that when people say they don't have enough time, I would say, well, then you're going to have to make time to be sick, because if you keep following the
Right.
standard American diet, you're going to have to take the time to go to the doctor and fill your prescription and maybe have
Hmm.
surgery. So, you know, you do have enough time. If you have enough time for anything you truly want and anything you truly value.
I think that's the bottom line is you have to want this, and you want the
Right.
health, you want the good health, and I know like your head is clearer. I mean,
Hmm.
totally. You're able to have better focus, and I've just noticed even myself, even as and I've been McDougall for quite a few years, but even though like we've been doing a lot of the maximum weight loss, and I've been transitioning more towards green veggies and things, and I noticed how
Hmm.
much clearer my head
Hmm.
is.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I'm helping as a wellness coach, he has transitioned. He was standard American diet, and overnight he went whole food plant based. He's diabetic. He's overweight. He's the litany. And
Hmm.
within probably about 10 days, he said it would take him about 40 minutes to wake up in the morning, literally. And
Hmm.
once he started this way, I mean, he had to take a shower for at least 20 minutes to wake up and
Right.
process and get all the drugs that he was on about 17 different medications,
Wow.
and just to get clear his head. And it would take, he was working three jobs, and it would take
Wow.
him all this time to, and he was working like till 10 or 11 o'clock every night, and to do his three jobs during the day. Once he started this way, he was able to process and get things done, and then he had time in the evenings to prepare his food.
Absolutely. And people waste a lot of time. I mean,
Oh,
people come to my class and everybody's got, one of these little crackberries now.
right.
And what happens is I believe that if you are on Facebook at all, then you have time to eat healthy, because people spend, I don't want to say waste time, because there's valuable things on Facebook, like your
Exactly.
group and my group. But when
Hmm.
you're just checking that you're, the guy you had a crush on in high school, what he's up to, that
Right.
time can be used for your prep cooking. So, it's how you spend your time. And I think people do need to limit some of their social media, unless it's their job, because YouTube. I love YouTube. I could watch Dining with Dogs every single day. It's my favorite.
Right.
But again, technology is so addictive, just like these processed foods, that
Hmm.
it sucks you in. And you
Yes.
know what I would say, what people might do, and I think we talked about it the last time, but I know I talked about it in my book, when I had to give my brother a budget, because I was in college. I was attending the University of Pennsylvania. It was between my sophomore and junior year, and I
Hmm.
was on scholarship. And I don't know, I was working. I had no money, and I kept calling my brother, who's 10 years older, who was a doctor. I said, can you send me some money? And he probably thought I was a drug addict or something. He goes, yeah, I'll send you some money if you give me a budget. And I'm like, I'm 19. I don't have a budget. And he wanted me for a month to write
Right.
down every nickel I spent. And I
Right.
realized that, at that time I drank coffee, but when you drink coffee out, it's a lot
Hmm.
more expensive than when you
Yes.
make it at home. And I
Absolutely.
was playing we had pinball back then. People are too young to remember. We used to play like this. We didn't
Yes.
play like this. And there was this game
Pac-Man.
called Jungle Quiz. I loved it. It was a quarter a game, which
Yes.
isn't much, but when you're playing it every day,
Hmm.
and when I wrote down the budget, I realized where my money was going. And guess what?
Hmm.
All of a sudden I had money. And you can do a time budget too. I
Hmm.
would challenge everybody that just one day, you only just on an average day,
Hmm.
write down what you're doing and be honest, because sometimes when you're being observed, you do things differently. And if you know that I'm like, if you're my client and you
Right.
know that I'm seeing your time budget, you don't want me to see that you were on
Hmm.
Facebook for 3 hours. And so you might then lessen the time you're on, but then don't show it to anybody. Be really honest, and you see how much time you're wasting. So I would challenge you that if you really wrote down a budget for how you're spending your money and your time, you will find that you actually do have time for both. But the bigger question is do you really want to do this? Because instead of saying, well, I can't because, maybe change your language to saying, if I really wanted to, I could. Because truthfully, when people really want to do something, all of a sudden they find the time and the money.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No, and I just
Nothing
want
will
to tag
stop
along, on the social media aspect, because my students tell me, oh, I can't get it's too much homework that you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw you posted a bunch of things on Facebook. Oh, wait. How does that work? You don't have time to do the homework, but you've got time for and God forbid if I take their cell phones away. Oh my God, they go into withdrawal. So it is an addiction.
Yep.
Well, I think
absolutely.
Another piece is to learn to cook efficiently.
Absolutely. And that is not actually very hard. And now this is where you could use the internet for good, is instead of watching all these clever, YouTubes that are getting 2 million hits with, people dancing or whatever. Not that there's not value in that. You could be watching my YouTube show, The Chef of the Dietitian, or Healthy Living, where you can actually learn how to cook healthy meals very quickly. That, I think, is a great use of the internet. And, it's not that I don't listen to things. I love listening to the Beat Your Genes podcast of Dr. Doug Lisle. But I'm listening to it while I'm prepping, while I'm chopping, while I'm walking my dog. So there's certain things, as long as obviously you don't want to be driving, but you can be listening to certain things while you're doing other things. And it's that kind of multitasking I'm all for. But learning how to cook just, a few basic meals, that's all you need to do, because people want recipes. Look, I think recipes are great. Don't get me wrong. But if there was not another vegan cookbook written again in the history of the world, there's already enough recipes and great ones. Tons. I mean, Robin Robertson, 1,001 vegan recipes. How many years would it take you to do every one? And then plus the internet and all the blogs you subscribe to. That's the other thing. Unsubscribe. There is so much junk in your mailbox right now. I bet you. Yes. I use this website. Some people don't like it, but it's called unroll.me, and it gets rid of all my stuff. But even if you just delete it, that takes more time than not having it appear. So clean up your inbox, that would help you have more time too. One of the things I find is, I learned this from Dr. Ellen Goldhammer, is instead of being on email all day, which would take all day because I get so many emails, I bunch it. So I check in the morning, and I check in the evening. And it's not that I don't look occasionally, because you and I had to, but I'm not like this all day. I was at UCLA for an appointment last week, and I had to go through campus, and I swear to God, I don't know why these people aren't being run over, because every single student walking to class was like this.
I know. Well, yeah.
And they're not even looking. I'm surprised they're not all banging their heads.
Well, there's a lot of accidents happening from kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They don't see where they're going. They get hit, or they fall into a trap, or a hole. Yeah.
Right. And I instead of teaching people recipes, what I like to teach people is how to make food. And believe it or not, I had a woman come to me, 44 years old, and she literally did not know how to even bake a potato in the oven. So it's just the basics, like get an Instant Pot, learn how to cook grains, learn how to cook beans. I think potatoes and sweet potatoes are pretty easy to cook. You preheat the oven, but you do these batch cooking once a week, and then you have for the whole week. And then people say, well, it's going to be boring. You don't have to eat the same thing over and over. You can mix and match. I mean, my goodness, there's 8,000 different kinds of legumes. I don't think you can live the rest of your life having each one. But instead of having recipes, and again, recipes are fine, but you're telling me you don't have time. So if you don't have time for a recipe, how about eating like what I like to do is eat like in a bowl. And so what I do is I always have some grain that's cooked. Like today it was wild rice, but sometimes it's quinoa and sometimes it's brown rice. It could be millet. So I always have a grain. I always have a bean, and I always have a vegetable, usually a green. And that is, I think, the most delicious way to eat. Like it's sort of like, going to Chipotle. They have bowls. Restaurant bowls are very big right now. And and it doesn't have to be a grain. It could be a potato, or a sweet potato could be the base. And it's delicious. And you can change the sauce. You can use salsa one day. You can use yummy sauce the other day. A tahini sauce, a peanut sauce. It doesn't matter. Change the sauce, but it's always different because you're using a different grain, a different bean, a different vegetable. I mean, the combinations are endless. So learn how to eat and enjoy eating food instead of being so focused on recipes. Because when I meet people, before they were plant-based, they weren't looking for recipes. They weren't, they were making a protein,
Right.
usually an animal protein. They were making a vegetable and they were making a starch. But now all of a sudden we need recipes. It's the same thing. It's just instead of the meat, you got the starch.
Right.
Same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I typically
Yeah.
batch cook on Sundays. That's Sunday
Yeah.
afternoons. That's my day. And I prep a lot of vegetables. I get things in containers. You should see my refrigerator. When I'm done Sunday night, I usually take a picture, post it on my Facebook group, and I show you this is what my refrigerator looks like. And
Right.
I've got everything ready. So in the morning, because I take a cooler with me to work, my husband does the same thing, and we're set. We're ready to go.
Yep.
I just pull it out of the refrigerator and goes.
Right. And I always freeze a little bit when I do my batch cooking, not the potatoes and sweet potatoes, but a little bit of the grains, a little bit of the legumes, and I put them I'm guessing I usually eat about 2 cups when I eat it. So I put it in the serving that I think I'm going to eat so that I can just pull the Pyrex or the Ziploc bag out for when it's time to batch cook again. Because
Right.
that gives me an extra day between batch cooking, because my batch cooking lasts, I'd say about 6 days, not quite 7. And the other thing I always do is that big salad once a week. It's the never-ending salad, so that if I come home starving until I can,
Right.
microwave the sweet potato, I can throw a little bit of salad in the bowl, eat that while I'm waiting. So food is always ready. And once you get an Instant Pot, and now the air fryer, which I've recommended. I mean, one of the things that I recommend the air fryer, other than I think it makes the food taste delicious, is it takes less time. So when I used to make my French fries in the oven, it would take at least 45 minutes plus another 10 minutes to preheat. But the air fryer preheats in 3 minutes, and I can get it done in under 20. So again, I'm saving time with some of these appliances in the Instant Pot. I mean, my goodness, if you've ever cooked beans from scratch, it takes 2 to 2.5 hours. In the Instant Pot, it takes 10 to 20, depending on the bean and depending on whether you soaked it. And things like corn on the cob, 3 minutes, and steel cut oats in 5 minutes. So you do have the time to eat healthy if you really desire to eat healthy.
Well, you have to learn how to do it. I mean, it takes a little bit. I mean, there's a little bit of learning curve in the beginning on how to do this, but that's why, you've got great videos. I've got some excellent cooking videos.
Yes,
a lot of mine are on Dr. McDougall's website. I've recorded a lot of his recipes on maximum weight loss.
Yeah, those are beautiful, very beautiful. So when people say, "Well, I don't know how to cook," did you not know how to cook before? So when you were making, a steak and peas and mashed potatoes, you knew how to cook then. So unless you really don't know how to cook at all, it's not that much different.
Yeah, but still, people. There's a whole generation that doesn't know how to cook. They take things out and put it into the microwave and heat it up. So they have no clue. And it's like, because I don't use a microwave. I don't have one in my house. And they're like, how do you cook? Oh, my God.
Well, then they need to either take an online class or just, keep watching YouTube, watch our videos and learn how to cook. Exactly. And with the Instant Pot, you really don't have to know how to cook. You have to know how to put stuff in and push the button.
Exactly.
To do the Instant Pot, guys, all my recipes are what I call almost all my recipes are dump recipes, so that even the most culinarily challenged people can throw it in, push a button, and have dinner. And that's the problem, because, I think there's a man in Los Angeles called Ron Finley, the Renegade Gardener, and he says that more deaths have been caused by the drive-through than by the drive-by in Los Angeles. And I think it's bad enough that the fast food restaurants like McDonald's existed, but the minute they made the drive-through, it's the worst, because, what they say in the pleasure trap, we're designed to get the most calories we can for the least amount of effort. Well, that is going through the drive-through for the least amount of cost. And so if you are on the drive-through diet, yes, you're going to have to spend some time initially to learn how to do this, or pay somebody to do it. Now, people think, well, I have to hire a chef. It's going to be $80,000 a year. Well, first of all, that's not true, because at least in LA, we have a lot of colleges and community colleges, and there are these job boards. And on the job boards, these are college students that are looking for work, but people can go there and put specifically what they want. And I'm telling you, you can get somebody for like $12 to $15 an hour, and they don't have to cook for you. They can. That's what Dr. Lyle uses, and they do your prep, and they can make a few simple meals. There are people, you can get a culinary student. You might find somebody that you can trade with. If you have a certain service, like maybe you design websites or something, I love to barter, but you can, if you are absolutely unwilling to cook this food yourself, you can get somebody to do it for you for much cheaper than you think it is. I'm not talking about hiring a professional chef, but I'm talking about hiring a person to chop and prep. And nowadays things come already chopped. I mean,
I know.
it's a little bit more expensive, but especially if you shop at like club stores like
Hmm.
Costco, you can get already washed gigantic bags of
Oh, it's
greens and
amazing.
salads. So right, all you got to
Totally.
do is eat it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and there's so much produce available. I mean, from all these different stores that's already cut, prepped and ready to go. But also, let's not forget about there's also foods that are prepared. There's several different places
absolutely.
that have
Oh,
food
I
that come right to your door. Plant
mhm.
Pure Nation has these
Yep.
amazing
Hmm.
frozen dinners, and that's what my
Right.
husband lives on when I'm out of town or I'm not. I haven't had a chance to cook. My batch cooking usually goes from Sunday to about Friday night.
Hmm.
And if I'm
Right.
like have to do a show or something like that, and I don't have time on Friday night to cook, then on Saturdays he'll get out one of those dinners and eat that for the day, and they're amazing. Or they also have the stuff's already prepped and ready to go, and so it comes to your house as a kit, and then you just add some simple ingredients. That's
Yeah,
another time
absolutely.
saver. I think the Engine 2 has a whole line of
Hmm.
foods that
They
is
do.
that helps you to prep things very quickly. Like, for example, I love they have a pizza crust in the frozen cabinet that you can just pull out. I pop it into the
Yep.
oven, crisp it up, pull it out, top it with my veggies, and it's awesome. A sauce, nice veggies, amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, now
So,
you can buy rice that's already cooked,
yes,
that's organic, that's either in the freezer section or in aseptic packages. Same thing with
yes,
quinoa. I think about this one student I had many years ago, and he basically said, "Well, I don't have time," and so which means code for I don't really want to do this. It's not important to me. And he basically ate this typical fast food
hmm,
diet, burgers, things like that. And he's on dialysis now, and on
yeah,
dialysis, that's 3 days a week, 4 hours, not to count the commute. So now 18 hours of his week that he didn't have because he doesn't have time.
right,
You
right,
don't need 18 hours to shop and cook. Now he has less time now. So what I'm saying is like I said last time, pay the grocer or pay the doctor, find the time, or the time's going to find you, and it's not going to be pretty when you develop a disease that requires a lot of
absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. And once you have some of these things that are basic staples, I mean, I always have steamed rice in my refrigerator. I just cook in my Instant Pot, I cook a big pot of potatoes. I just scrub them, throw them into
Mhm.
there, and I've got cooked potatoes. Then I can take them out and I can do whatever I need to. I always usually have some kind of beans or some kind of like lentil in my refrigerator at all times. So I can take things out and I can have a dinner on the table in under 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I know you said you don't have a microwave, but I do, and I'm not afraid to use it. But in a pinch, I will microwave a Yukon Gold potato and put a little salsa or mustard on it, and
Hmm.
voila. But I usually don't have to do that because usually I have batch cooked and roasted all my potatoes, so they're already in the fridge until I'm down to that last potato. The only time that would happen is if I've been, out of town. And on my website, eatunprocessed.com, I have a webinar page, and I've done lots of webinars showing what I eat in a
Hmm.
day, in a week, how to make a salad and things like that.
Right.
So people can learn these things very easily. The thing is you just have to want to do it. And
Exactly. And another resource that I love is absolutely Jeff Novick has a
mhm,
series of DVDs called Fast Food.
mhm.
And his criteria for fast food, and he takes you through how to shop in a grocery store, but his criteria is all the meals have to be able to be prepared in under 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's very doable. It's very doable to
Absolutely.
prepare, especially if you have the foundation of the meal already cooked, like the grain, like the legume,
Exactly.
and like the starch, like the potato. Then it's just assembling it. It's not really cooking. And it doesn't mean you can't take time on the weekend or
Right.
only have time to do a special recipe, but most people, especially if they work, aren't doing
Right.
recipes every
Right.
single day.
Well, and the simpler you make it, I think that the healthier it is.
Yeah.
That you're just eating whole foods, and not adding a lot of processed
Mhm.
things to it.
And that's the
So,
best way to eat. It's actually cheaper to eat whole food than processed food, and it's actually
mhm.
healthier too. So it's a win-win. One of my students, Michelle, does this thing, and this might be a good suggestion for people that have
You're right.
regular jobs. with the same coworkers is she was inspired to go plant-based in 2010, I believe, and she took my class, and then she basically told all her friends to take it. The friends that worked with her. And what they do is they will make on the, like, let's say on Sunday or whatever day, they'll make something like a red lentil chili or, a split pea soup. But each of the 5 gals, they each make something different. So like on Monday, Michelle will bring enough for everybody for lunch. And on Tuesday, one of the other gals will. So 5 days right there, they're having something different for lunch, and they'll bring enough so that if they want, they can take it home for dinner. And I heard about this thing, I believe it was when I was in Texas, where people have these like meetup groups where, because it is more expensive if you buy things already chopped. And that, but I do that because I'm lazy. Trader Joe's has everything chopped from the onions to the garlic. So, but if you don't want to do that, let's say, you had to chop everything, that would take time. So what they do is they have these groups and they bring these big mason jars. And so one person is on red bell pepper, one person is on onion, and one person is on tomato, and one person is on cucumber. And they meet together and they have their little meeting, and everybody assembles these jars.
How nice is that?
It's so much easier. It's like a cookie swap, but healthy. And it's fun because getting together with people makes it fun, Cooking with people makes it really fun, especially if you have children. Kids will eat healthy if you eat healthy, and they love to be involved in the preparation process.
Once you get them involved, and I'm trying to get my daughter to transition into whole food plant-based, and I just give her, a cookbook and say, a whole food plant-based cookbook and say, pick something that looks good to you and let's cook it together. And once we get
fun.
It is. Oh, absolutely. And we cook together in the kitchen, and we have a lot of fun together. So getting them involved in the cooking, and you're teaching them good, healthy habits, it's a win-win situation, without question. I think the bottom line is, because I'm a bottom line kind of person, we all have time for the things we value.
Yes, absolutely. And truthfully, even though maybe money is more finite, we really do have money for the things we really want. They talk about how even a very poor family somehow finds money for funerals. I mean, that might be a bad example, but the point is that when you really need something or want it, the money somehow often seems to appear. And again, it's a matter of your priorities. If becoming healthy and preventing and reversing a lifestyle-related disease is your number one priority, which I think it should be, because health is your greatest wealth, because all the money in the world is not going to help when you're on the kidney donation list. I mean, because seriously, I know somebody right now that is very wealthy, and that doesn't move you up the list, unfortunately. It's just,
if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So
absolutely. If people knew how good they could feel and look and how much energy they would have, everybody would do it. It's like, I think it was Dr. Colin Campbell who said if the plant-based diet was a pill, it would cost millions, because everybody would want it, because you feel so good.
You do. You do. And it's amazing. And even not to say that you don't get sick this way, but even if you do get sick, you recover so much faster.
It's like I had the flu. Oh, wait. Okay, it's over.
Yeah, right.
That's what it's like. You do.
Exactly.
It's because your immune system is so much stronger, I believe.
Absolutely.
And it's not that you can have vegans have accidents, obviously, but I think we do recover much more quickly. And I heard Dr. Furman speak this weekend at a conference in Vegas, and he was saying that so much of what happens to us now, especially like cancer, was from what we did 30 and 40 years ago. And while we might not be able to erase all of that damage, let's not create any new damage. Let's.
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of have debunked that myth. So lots of good tips and tricks as always. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.